Oh man, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Hello, hello, welcome one, welcome all. Happy to be here. Hope you're excited. Quite frankly, I am. Once again, welcome one, welcome all. And most importantly, man, welcome to the stream. All right, there we go. I hit the wrong button. Hello. Different hotkeys, I realized, that I have set up for this overlay. Hello. Welcome. Happy to be here. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all doing well, man. Hope you're all staying safe. This is gonna be fun. I hope. I'm nervous. I'm not okay. So this is the content idea that I've been talking about for quite some time. I've been talking about doing this for a decent amount of time. Oh, my nose. And on paper, I think it's a solid idea, and I'm very excited about it. But now I gotta do it, and I did like a practice run. Am I lagging? Am I good? I lagged for a minute. I guess we're good. Anyway, I did like a practice run, and oh, dude, that was hard. It was hard, man. I think once everything gets like settled and I start to find a groove, like then I'm okay. One of the toughest parts with any racing, from a commentary standpoint or a spectating standpoint, like obviously when it comes to broadcasting, like you want to keep people engaged, you want to keep people entertained. Same applies to streaming, right? The issue is that you got to be able to do it right from the get-go, right? So like when you watch an F1 race and you hear the excitement coming out of Crofty, and just how just the vibes he has, the energy he's bringing, like you're all in on it. You know what I mean? Like you're ready to go, and you're all about it. But I'm not Crofty, so like my issue. First. Hang on, chat. Oh, God. Don't do this to me today. Bitch, man. Sorry, chat. Give me a minute. I might have to restart the stream, which is pretty fucking annoying. Are you guys getting? If I have anybody watching right now, is anybody getting like buffering? Like, is it just nonstop buffering right now? Seems okay. Mostly. Doesn't make any sense. Tried like Googling this issue. I got a notification on my YouTube like studio saying YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers will experience buffering. But I mean, I got the stream pulled up. I'm not seeing any buffering so far. And I tried Googling the issue to see if like I can fix it, and they don't have a fix. They don't have a fix, so that's pretty cool. Oh God, we're off to a fun start already. Well, whatever. We'll figure it out. Hopefully, I don't run into any issues, because obviously it'll screw up recording purposes. But anywho, as we were saying, so again, early stages of a race, like that's where like you want to bring all the excitement, right? Like it's lights out, away we go. All the cars are fighting at once to, you know, beat each other down in turn one, right? One, I ain't got the voice for that, I don't think. Like, I think, like, you know how like some people are just meant for like radio or meant for television, right, with their voice. I ain't got that kind of voice. Maybe like a podcast or something, but like that's about it. So yeah, so like that's my issue at the end of the day, is that I don't know how to bring that excitement, like my voice. I don't have the voice for that. But I'm gonna try my best. We're gonna do it. I'm a little nervous, man. Not gonna lie. It's a little nerve-wracking. Again, it should be fun, man. I'm excited to do this with you. And I hope you guys enjoy it. And you know, obviously, if you do, leave the like. Let's get some action going in the chat. You know what I mean? Hopefully we get some excitement going. Just so everybody knows, alert box will not be present for this, just because of the simple fact that for this, like, I also want to have editing on top of this, you know, on top of what we record today. So I don't want to have, you know, I don't want to have alerts showing up in the middle of that, because I'm trying to keep it like real life, you know what I mean? I'm trying to keep it super realistic. You you know, for this series. It also means that like while we're watching this race, like I am going to ignore chat. I'm sorry. So if you have anything to say in there, I apologize. But yeah, that's that. That is that. Sorry. So yeah. But before we get started, I want to go grab something to drink. That was a little dry. So we're gonna go do that, and then we'll get jumped. We'll get jumped in, squared away. Probably. I mean, it's gonna be a little bit shorter of a stream. You know what I mean? Probably like 2 hours. I mean, my recording is only a little over an hour and a half. So, my edited video. So. But yeah. So we will like I said, we'll let's start here in just a minute. I'm gonna go grab something to drink, and then it's time, man. It's time to go to the grid, man. Again, I'm super excited for this content idea. I want to try to do these once a week. There's a lot of recording and a lot of editing involved in this. Like so far, I'm probably about like 7-8 hours in terms of time spent on just this. Between, because we're also doing full races too. Like I'm obviously I got to go through practice, I got to go through qualifying, but then we're doing the full race on top of then having to go back, re-record all the race replay stuff, with all the right camera angles that I want and cuts and things like that. And then adding like replay transitions and stuff like there's a lot involved in it. It's not as simple as one might think, which I'm okay with. I mean, I knew it was gonna take time. And then even after this, like then I plan on going through and doing like a race highlights that I'll post here on the channel as well. So it's a lot, dude. it's a lot. It's a lot to work with, but I don't mind. You know what I mean? I don't mind. I don't mind. It should be fun. Skin's peeling. Should be fun. You know what I mean? Again, I'm excited. Nervous. Very nervous. And I shouldn't be, but I also should be. Because I want this to go well. You know what I mean? Like, I want this to go well. I have to sit here. This is the toughest part, chat. I mean, when you guys watch my streams, like, you guys know what kind of content creator I am, right? Like, I try to talk a lot. I try to stay engaged as much as possible. But there's times where I get kind of quiet and I don't say shit. You know what I mean? Like, there's times where I'm so focused on whatever's going on, I don't say anything. This is the opposite. This is like, I have to be paying attention to multiple things, but then on top of that, I can't stay quiet. Like, I gotta be locked in, laser focused, like, and just constantly talking. You know what I mean? Like I can't really have that dead air. It's tough. But anyway, I'll be back. Like something, grab something to drink, and then we'll start. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to round one of the 2022 Formula One season here at the Bahrain Grand Prix. Season opener, brand new cars, new drivers, and new places. Should be set for a very exciting race here today. 3 DRS zones here round this 15-turn circuit. Turns 1 and 4, great for overtaking opportunities, as well as turn 14 and 15. And then watch out for turn 10, the acute left-hander. A lot of drivers have been struggling all weekend there. As we take a look at today's starting grid for round 1. Max Verstappen lines up P1 with Charles Leclerc right behind him there in P2. Just 5/100ths of a second separating the two. We look at the rest of the grid. Carlos Sainz, Lewis Hamilton, Sergio Perez, George Russell, brand new to the Mercedes, Valtteri Bottas, and brand new to the Alfa Romeo, Fernando Alonso P8, Mick Schumacher P9, Lando Norris P10, Yuki Tsunoda, Zhou Guanyu, Daniel Ricciardo, Alex Albon back in the sport, Pierre Gasly, Lance Stroll, Sebastian Vettel, David Chiazar, the second rookie on the grid, Esteban Ocon, and Nicholas Latifi rounding out the 20-car lineup. So we head down to the track. Brand new season, brand new cars, brand new regulations. Should be set up for quite the year ahead of us. Coming into the season, we know that Ferrari has tremendous pace. They see themselves as being a potential front runner for the championship. They feel it's theirs to win, it's theirs to lose. But Red Bull has shown great pace as well, as we saw in yesterday's qualifying session. And we might see some surprise performances throughout some cars this year. Look at Haas, for example. We got Mick Schumacher starting in the top 10. He made Q3 for the first time in his F1 career. Should be very exciting to see what kind of pace he puts up. And Mercedes may not be as strong as what we once saw in the past decade, where they've dominated pretty much. As we get ready, the cars go around for the formation lap here. Most teams starting on the mediums, some teams starting on the soft tires, soft, medium, hard compounds available to the drivers for this race. It'll be quite interesting to see what the strategies look like going forward. As we know, tire regulations have changed, so now drivers are allowed to start on whatever tire they would like. Predictive strategies for a lot of teams, one-stop strategy, going from the soft to the hard compound. However, again, a lot of teams starting on the medium, so I think we'll still see that one-stop strategy transition over medium into the hards. It'll be quite interesting to see a lot of teams going different avenues. Some teams even starting on the hard compound tires. So it'll be quite interesting to see how things go. As all the cars line up on the grid, find their spots. And once we get settled, we'll see the lights get started. Here we go. 1 light, 2 light, 3, 4, 5 lights. And the lights are out, and here we go. Max Verstappen gets off to a clean start, cuts off Charles Leclerc right in front of him. We see some cars moving around in the back there as they head down into turn 1. Max Verstappen still with the lead. Charles Leclerc slowly behind him, but it looks like they almost might have made contact there as they head up into turn 3. Lewis Hamilton overtaking Sergio Perez after getting a slow start there. As he continued down the straight into turn 4, we see a lot of cars fighting in the back there in the middle of the pack. But Max Verstappen still out in front, right behind is Charles Leclerc, as we're on board with Charles Leclerc now. As we see them fight through these S's here, heading down into turn 8. Be quite interesting to see how this all works out for them. See where all the cars follow. These new cars, they're obviously designed to be able to follow each other a lot better, so it'll be quite interesting to see what the races actually look like as we go forward. As we head into this turn 10, where a lot of cars have struggled throughout the weekend. And we actually see some cars going deep there in the back. It looks like the McLaren of Lando Norris and Fernando Alonso as well. So we ride back on board with Max Verstappen. got himself a decent lead here throughout this first lap. So everybody's just kind of falling into line here. See where everybody goes. See how everything sells. Looks like another car just went off in the back there too, actually. Not quite sure who that was. As one lap has now been completed here at the Bahrain Grand Prix. One lap down here in the 2022 season. Charles Leclerc following very closely behind. The Red Bulls this year, I feel like they're going to have a strong pace coming out of the corners, as we've seen. Like, it was about a 3/10 gap going into turn 1. Max got it up to 5. You see Ferrari, they have great straight line speed, as we've seen. We got some battling going on here in the back. Looks like Mick Schumacher just got past Lando Norris, now up into P9. A lot of battling happening behind. 3 wide behind between Zhou Guanyu, Yuki Tsunoda, and Alex Albon. Quite exciting stuff. Side by side, Alex Albon, Zhou Guanyu fighting back and forth. Don't normally see this. This is exciting stuff. This is exactly what we want to see from these cars here. They're still side by side, just not giving up. Alex Albon still alongside, going into turn 9. Oh, squeezes him out just a little bit, forces him wide. Oh no, his engine goes. Oh, Alex. Oh, lap 2 of the season, the car already fails on him. Oh, you can't help but feel for him, man. I mean, you just, first race back in F1, and the car just gives up. And he was on pace for quite a strong result, it looked like, already. Oh, your heart goes out to him. When we continue onward here, Max Verstappen got almost a 7/10 lead over Charles, and you'll see that gap gets closer and closer as we go down. Although not by much, so maybe a little bit of energy harvesting, especially now that DRS has now been activated. We're on lap 3. We'll see. As you see the flap open up on the back of the Ferrari there for Charles. Doesn't actually close all that quickly, as we see some battling here going on between Zhou Guanyu and Pierre Gasly. DRS activated. You can see it on his wheel there. You saw the green light that let him know that, hey, you have DRS available to you. Adds about an extra 10 miles per hour to your straight line speed. Still can't quite get close enough. Turn 4 is a tough spot to overtake. You have to be very close to make it happen. So it all depends on how you get that run coming out of turn 3. You see him following along here, heading down into turn 9 and turn 10. We got ahead here. I mean, how about the start that David Chizar had? Started P18, is up to P8. Tremendous start. It's already made 10 spots in the early goings here. So tremendous stuff from one of our 2 rookies that we have on the grid this year, between David Chizar there and the Haas replacing Nikita Mazepin for obvious reasons going on there. Our hearts go out to those in Ukraine, and then Zhou Guanyu being the other driver here. So we see him pulling off to the side. I almost wonder if he has an issue as well. So we see his teammate go past. Looks like he might be following along okay. So I almost wonder, maybe some team orders going on here. Maybe they feel as though that Mick is the faster car. I mean, you'd hate to see, just 3 laps in, see team orders happening already in the 2022 season. As we see him following along now. So I almost wonder if they feel as though that Mick is the faster driver, and this was the plan all along in the event that for some reason we saw David Chizar come up to the front. But let's take a look at the race start again. This is on board with Lewis Hamilton. As we see, gets the revs up really high. It kind of gets bogged down a little bit. And you'll see Sergio on the left side here just gets a much better start in comparison. And then you see ahead, obviously, Max Verstappen cutting off Charles, and this is on board with Max Verstappen here. It's a decent start. Not the greatest of starts, but still better than, what Charles had. And, again, immediately just cuts to the inside. And, almost locked up a little bit, so he kind of checked up. And, again, I almost think you see the wheel spin, actually, from Max. But I almost think they make contact here. And we'll see. This is on board with Charles Leclerc. Very curious. Very, very curious as we head in here, turn 1. Yeah, they definitely do. I'm amazed we didn't see any damage happen, punctured tire or anything along those lines. And this is on board with David Chizar. Again, starting P18. Does not really get a good start. Gets a little bogged down. It actually falls back to dead last. I wonder how he makes up all these spots. And oh, wow, what a dive. Oh, that is so risky. Oh, I can't believe he made that work. Really can't believe he made that work. Gets up to P10 after just one turn. This is on board with Alex Albon as we see. Oh, man. I mean, imagine just being Alex Albon there. You just see a Haas just coming up the inside like that. That's terrifying. And this is on board with Mick Schumacher. This is where the two cars switch. And you see David pull off to the right there. I mean, I almost think that it was definitely a team order that happened there. But we'll see as the race continues, obviously. As we jump back now, Max Verstappen still out in the lead, lap 6. We go through the grid. I think your top 6 that you see right now, I think that's going to be pretty consistent throughout the course of this year. You know, between Max Verstappen, you know, being out in front, being the better Red Bull, with the two Ferraris being right behind, and I think you'll see that flip flop a little bit too. I think you'll see, you know, I think you'll see Charles have some success against Max throughout the year. You know, especially once we get to those tracks, like let's say like a Monza, for example, or a Baku, where straight line speed kind of triumphs your cornering ability. But we'll see as time progresses, obviously. So we're right on board with Charles Leclerc, riding at P2, just 5/10 behind, keeping the gap. You know, he's keeping it very close, very consistent. So we'll see how the run goes. Both cars are on medium tires, so I'd imagine they're doing very similar strategies. So we'll see what happens here. Oh man, what a camera angle this is! Look at this. That's an amazing shot. And you can see like Max will get that 1 to 2/10 advantage coming out of the corners, but then Charles just immediately closes the gap. You know, that advantage in the straight line. The Ferrari just has such great straight line speed. It's quite impressive. It's quite impressive to see. But we go through the grid, we go and take a look here. I mean, Max Verstappen P1, Charles Leclerc P2, Carlos P3, Sergio P4, George Russell ahead of his teammate Lewis Hamilton there in the Mercedes, Valtteri Bottas P7. I think, again, that top 6, I think that's what you're going to consistently see throughout the season, and then it's just going to be an all-out war for the rest of the midfield. There's a 3/10 gap now between Charles and Max Verstappen. So he gets just close, but not close enough. So we head up through turn 3 into the second DRS straight. Still just can't quite get close enough. Just can't quite get that run coming out of the corner there, coming out of turn 3. To try to make a move on him. And the big hope for this year, as we all know, is that with these new cars, with these new regulations, the idea is that they're going to generate a lot more downforce and allow dirty air to flow better with these cars and have the cars absorb more of that dirty air to be able to actually be able to make moves and be able to follow closer. And so far, I mean, we've seen some of it happen already, especially in the midfield. I mean, you just look at those gaps. From pretty much like P8 on down, they're very close. We got a little bit of that taste last year as well, so hopefully this year, you know, we see a little bit more of that too. As it looks like Yuki Tsunoda has gone wide there in turn 10. Lando Norris, Zhou Guanyu, and his teammate Pierre Gasly, although he's fighting back on Pierre, but Lando Norris, Zhou Guanyu managed to go right by. Pierre is not really giving them any space, but Yuki's honestly just fighting right back. You'll love to see it. You'll love to see it. No team orders here. And Yuki looks like he's going to keep the place there. Again, we've seen it all weekend long. We've seen cars struggle in turn 10 there. A lot of cars struggling to get the car slowed down. And they're a lot bigger tires. Looks like Pierre's going to try to make a move on the outside. Not quite going to make it work, though. But he'll have DRS here going down this long straight here as they get into turn 1. Makes the move down on the inside. Although Yuki has DRS too. Pierre looks like he's got a little bit better straight line speed. As Daniel Ricciardo 3 wide going into turn 1. Wow. Oh, God. How did they not make contact? Still 3 wide going into turn 2 and into turn 3. Looks like Yuki backs out as Daniel makes the spot. Pierre gets out a little bit ahead. Yuki fighting back at Daniel Ricciardo, though. Daniel Ricciardo, one of the Best of the late breakers, though, on the grid. Manages to keep the spot. Wow. That was exciting. Let's get a look at this again. This is on board with Yuki Tsunoda. Yeah, it just struggles to let the car slow down. Again, these tires are much larger, so and the cars themselves are a lot heavier. So when you approach it, you kind of have to approach it in just a straight line as you brake. And obviously that's tough to do in that corner. As you see, this is on board with Daniel Ricciardo. Ever the opportunity of this. Oh, what a dive down the inside here. I still don't understand how they don't make contact. Just gets squeezed out just a little bit, so he wasn't able to fight the area there. And manages to hold it around the outside here on Yuki. So Yuki Tsunoda dropped about 5 places there after just that one little slip up. As we hop back on board here, this is with Charles Leclerc. Again, the gap's still about a half a second between him and Max. Now, honestly, if they've managed to keep it this close as these laps go on, then it's really going to come all down to just pit strategy and how that progresses. You see Max just gets that better run coming out of these corners. But as long as Charles stays within DRS range, you really shouldn't have to worry about too much, depending on how quickly these tires fall off, too. That's another thing, too. Again, new tire sizes, new regulations as how all that stuff works as well. So, like, there's a lot of unknowns heading into this season. Obviously, a tremendous amount of testing went on to, test these tires, test these cars, and see how they're going to behave and act. But until you get into the race, you truly don't know how it's all going to go down. Very exciting stuff, honestly. I think we're heading into this new era of F1, and I mean, so far it hasn't disappointed. That's for sure. And we're only 10 laps into it. See Charles, he actually got a decent run coming out of turn 11 there, and turn 12, and now 13. Keeping it relatively close. See if we can get a good run down this straight, but not quite. It looks like Max got the better run. Heading into turns 14 and 15. Coming out onto the straight. Looks like about 6/10 gap. I don't think he has enough pace to close that gap here. So we head into turn 1 once again. Still just can't quite get it done. We'll take a look at Carlos Sainz now also as well. Running P3. Running very strong here. Last year had a very strong season with Ferrari. Actually outscoring his teammate Charles Leclerc in his first year with Ferrari. So we'll see what kind of year he can produce this year. With Sergio Perez following right behind him there. About an 8/10 gap between those two drivers. And again, you almost wonder, like, how is this going to be treated? I mean, we're seeing the first drivers for both teams battling 1 and 2 right now. The second team drivers battling 3 and 4. You almost wonder, how is it going to be treated? Let's say if Carlos closed that gap, like, is he going to be given the time or be allowed to be able to just try to make a move? And the same goes for Sergio as well. And I think if you're Red Bull, if you're Christian Horner, if you're on that pit wall, I think you would like to see Checo get past Carlos, obviously. Not only to get into the podium spots, but then to be able to pressure Charles Leclerc and hopefully create a little bit more of a cushion there for Max Verstappen. As we head out in the final corner, got about a 6/10 gap between Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc. We ride on board here. Man, these cars are going about 200 miles per hour as they brake super late here into this corner. Get the car turned in. And you can even hear, oh, it looks like Max got a little loose actually. Coming out, let's see if we can get the run here. A little bit of oversteer coming out of turn 3, but still not quite close enough. You can kind of hear ahead Max Verstappen having, like, getting up through the gears a little bit quicker in comparison to Charles. So now we're taking a look. Lewis Hamilton, the reigning, sorry, not the reigning world champion, but the Mercedes cars here, the reigning constructors champions. Lewis Hamilton, one of the all-time greats in the sport, as we know. Although, I mean, if you asked him coming into the season, if he was going to be driving in P6, 12 laps into the first round, he probably would have told you no. And his teammate, George Russell, I mean, seems like he's fitting in very nicely so far here with Mercedes. As we know, George, Mercedes Jr. driver for the longest time, driving with Williams last year, got his chance in 2020 to drive for Mercedes, replacing his teammate, Lewis Hamilton, at the Sakir Grand Prix. And, what a heartbreaking result that was for him. But now finally gets his opportunity in a car that has obviously seen a ton of success over the past decade. That's just absolutely dominated the hybrid era. As we see Lewis Hamilton get closer and closer and closer, but just can't quite make the move. So you almost wonder, same thing here, you almost wonder if there's just some team orders going on saying, hey, just follow behind, don't battle each other. But I find it hard to believe that they would allow George to just stay in front of Lewis Hamilton. You would think if there are any favorites being played, you would think that they're going to lean a little bit more towards Lewis there. So I think they're just kind of letting the cars go and seeing who can battle, the other. So right on board with Pierre Gasly. As DRS, he was a little slow coming out of turn 2, though. Falling behind Zhou Guanyu. Heading into turn 4. Just can't quite get close enough. You have to get a really good run coming out of turn 2 and 3 if you really want to try to make that overtake happen in turn 4. We're seeing a lot of cars actually struggle to get that run. How about the race Zhou Guanyu's honestly having? Yes, he's riding outside of the points, but I mean, P11 in your first race, not too far behind from your teammate either. It's impressive stuff. It's definitely what you want to see. As we head into the third DRS zone, still can't quite get close enough though. See if he can maintain this gap here. Big thing going through here is you want to make sure that the gap stays as close as it is. I think if you go into that first DRS zone, come to the start-finish line, if you can maintain that about a 4/10 gap, you should be able to close ahead, with DRS. And obviously being able to use overtake as well. Using as much of that battery as you can. So here we go, on board Pierre Gasly. What a shot this is. DRS available, closing the gap ever so much, but just not quite enough. The Alfa Romeo, as we know, is a Ferrari power unit. I mean, that Ferrari power unit just seems like it has such great straight line speed. See Pierre Gasly still just not quite close enough. Pierre, as we know, has always been a very strong runner when it comes to his racecraft, especially while being in an AlphaTauri. But we're back on board out front here, 14 laps in. About to head on to lap 15. Max Verstappen still leading out in front with Charles Leclerc close behind. A little bit of a gap has been created between Charles and Carlos, as obviously Carlos is having to deal with a little bit of pressure from Sergio Perez behind. We'll see, can Charles close this gap? It's actually closing at a pretty quick rate. Still just not quite enough. So heading to turn 1, up through turn 2, and again, you just see that gap go up by about 2/10 from where it was when they headed into turn 1. Max just has that better cornering ability in comparison to Charles Leclerc. I definitely think we've been seeing, these cars have definitely been able to follow each other better. Fortunately for some, they're just not quite able to, as we're seeing some of our first round of pit stops happening now. Zhou Guanyu in, Pierre Gasly in, Daniel Ricciardo in. Let's see what kind of stop we get here from Daniel. Not a bad stop, seems pretty decent. Zhou Guanyu, same thing. Has to wait a little bit, though, because he has to wait for the AlphaTauri and the McLaren to go by. So he actually loses 2 spots on those pit stops. And as we know as well, when these drivers come in with these new tire regulations, when these drivers come out of the pits, these tires are cold as ice. There's no more tire blankets while the drivers wait for their pit stops, while the tires are sitting there. So they have to take that extra time to get those tires up to speed. And for these hard tires, it might take probably about a lap or two before it actually happens. So we're on board now with Carlos Sainz. What a shot this is. Head down into turn 1. Sergio Perez just super close. Not quite close enough. And again, we've seen the Red Bull get a good run coming out of those corners. Sergio's not as good as Max, though. Although we cut away. On board with David Schusar. What about the run he's been having, huh? Running in P9, so we can't confirm. Didn't look like he was having any mechanical issues. It looked like it was definitely team orders, but running in P9. How about these Haas cars? I mean, they're back of the grid last year. Kind of cut that corner a little bit. Back at the grid last year, now running 8th and 9th in the points. So we see Lando complete his pit stop, Yuki Tsunoda complete his. So they come out. So we got a Williams Nicholas Latifi coming in as well. Gets a decent pit stop there as well, as he heads out on his way onto the hard tires. And now we see some of these guys that have pitted, obviously, they're back out running out ahead some of the guys behind them. So we're seeing some of those first rounds of pit stops. Those guys that were starting on the softs, they managed to get it to go about 15, 16 laps. So we see the two teammates battling once again, Pierre Gasly and Yuki Tsunoda. Yuki's tire is obviously a little bit fresher in comparison to Pierre's, but Pierre able to stay ahead. Actually starting to create a little bit of a gap to his teammate behind. He's already got the gap up to a little over a second in comparison. I'm sorry, the other one's pit. I'm sorry, I got that backwards. As Yuki just came out of the pits, so that would actually make sense as to why Pierre is building such a gap. A little tough to keep up when you're looking at the same two cars. But anyways, we're back on board. David Schusar here in the Haas. Seems like he's just following behind Mick. So it looks like there was definitely some strategy involved here to where we have Mick staying ahead. Because as we've seen on the timing sheets, David's been very close to Mick pretty much throughout this entire race. It looks like he's had opportunities to overtake, but simply just hasn't. And again, ultimately, they definitely feel like Mick might be the faster guy. And I think the only reason why David's really keeping with him is mostly because he's had DRS. And you'll see, like, going through Sector 2, you'll see that timing jump up a little bit for Mick in comparison to David. Then David manages to close the gap back up, heading into Sector 3 and obviously beginning part of Sector 1 as well. As we see, deployed DRS a little late there, it looked like. Actually runs a little deep, too. So, not the greatest of runs there. You almost wonder if he's actually struggling with the car as well. But again, how about these Haas guys? Running P8, P9, quite impressive. So we cut back up to the front and cut back up to the lead. It looks like Charles is actually inching a little closer than what he's been. Gap a little less than 5/10 heading into turn 4. Can he make the dive? Not quite close enough. As we see Charles following very closely behind Max Verstappen. I almost wonder if these guys are starting to struggle with their tires a little bit. Again, a lot of unknowns coming into this year. We don't quite know what the tire life is quite like. For the guys running on the mediums, we're expecting them to be able to go roughly anywhere between about 26 to 30 laps on these tires. So it'll be quite interesting to see, how well they can manage those tires and how far they can get with them. As we see Charles get ever so close, just not close enough there heading into turn 11. And we've seen a decent gap built as well between Charles and Carlos Sainz. It's the gap between them about 4 seconds as well. They head down A long back straight there. Heading into the final turns. And gap's about 6/10, so, you know, again, as we've seen, you kind of have to have about a 4/10 gap heading into this heading into turn 1 and heading into this long front straight, but again, still just not quite close enough to make a lunge. It looks like Max still having a pretty solid run there. On board with Fernando Alonso, trying to recover his early goings. Obviously ran wide there in the first lap. So, currently running P12, hasn't pit yet. So he's falling behind Lance Stroll, who also hasn't pit yet. So trying to make a move around the outside. Can he get it to stick? It looks like yes, he can. Crafty old veteran. He has DRS going down the straight, but it looks like Lance Stroll fighting back at him. So see the Canadian here in the Aston Martin going down into turn 1. Fighting back without DRS, and actually gets him back. So what a move. It looks like Fernando actually upset the rear end there a little bit coming out of turn 2 into turn 3. So quite amazing stuff. So we cut to the other Aston Martin here. Sebastian Vettel and Daniel Ricciardo going at it. Two crafty veterans as well. Obviously not running quite where they would like. We see Sebastian fighting alongside. It's these two going neck and neck. Neither driver willing to give up. It looks like Sebastian just gets ahead of him. Daniel tries to make a move to the inside as well. And still, Sebastian able to... Oh, Daniel. A little bit of wiggle there. Coming out of turn 4. Sebastian able to stay ahead. So we're seeing some good racing here. Although, albeit outside of the points rather, unfortunately. Again, definitely not where these two guys obviously want to be running. Two race winners, as we know. So we head into the final DRS zone. Zhou Guanyu with DRS behind Daniel. Daniel with DRS behind Sebastian. Really just a train going at that point. Nobody really able to close any sort of gap. Cut back now to Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll going at it once again. So we see Lance Stroll in the inside, heads down into turn 1, fighting back. We see Fernando still alongside him. He's got the inside, but can't quite get it to stick. We see Lance Stroll with DRS, although Fernando's got the slipstream, he's got the DRS. Can he make it happen on the outside going into turn 4? Still alongside, still fighting. This is what you love to see. Still battling, side by side. Still battling. Neither driver willing to give an inch. They're still going. Heading into turn 9 and 10. Let's see who can make it stick. Who can make it stick as Lance Stroll runs wide. Just can't make it stick. Tremendous stuff there. This guy's battled for about half the track, and you love to see it as we see Charles Leclerc making a move on Max Verstappen. Heading into turn 4. Can he get it to go? I'm sorry, that's heading into... Yes, I'm sorry, that was turn 4. Couldn't quite tell. Into 5 and 6 now as well. Max Verstappen keeps the lead. Stays ahead, but only just. A lot of action happening all over the track. It's tough to follow. It's tough to keep up what's going on. This is what you love to see. Makes my job so much harder, but I love it. As we see Charles Leclerc following behind. Can he close that gap again? You almost wonder if Max Verstappen is just starting to struggle on those medium tires. You almost wonder if he's just been pushing a little too hard just to maintain his gap. As we see, can he get close enough? See a little bit of a slide there coming from Max Verstappen. Can he do it as we head into the final corners here? Turns 14 and 15. Here we go. DRS, 4/10 is the gap. I've been saying it all race. 4/10, that's really what you need. As you head into the front straight, into turn 1. Can he make the move? Still not quite close enough, though. As we saw Max kind of park his car perfectly where he needed it to be. Max gets the better run. Although Leclerc with DRS actually got a really good run coming out of 3. Can he get close enough here? Still not quite. Still not quite close enough to make a lunge. Very exciting stuff. Let's take a look at it again. So this is going back. This is where Leclerc got the run on him. He's very close coming out of the final corners. See, tries to make the move on the outside. They actually make contact again. Checks up. Coming out of turn 2. Just felt like he probably couldn't get the stick. However, got a really good run even after that. I almost wonder if Max checked up as well. Came to the inside, but Max was just able to get it to stick on the outside. Oh, a little bit of oversteer from Charles Leclerc. This is on board with Lance Stroll as well. We saw this before. See Lance just run a little wide there. And these cars, with how low they are to the ground, you know, when you get on these curbs, it essentially almost acts like a skateboard, where you just start grinding those curbs. So here we go. Charles Leclerc, only 0.3 is the gap difference. Definitely close enough to make a move here. As we head down the front straight. Charles Leclerc with DRS goes down the inside, heading into turn 1. Can he get it to stick this time? As we see Max, oh, they make contact again. They make contact again. Max checks up. Charles Leclerc moves ahead into the lead here in the Bahrain Grand Prix. And we see Max following along. What tremendous racing here. This is what you love to see. Again, I think Max's tires are just starting to fall away from him. As we see Charles just kind of start to pull away slowly but surely here as the lap progresses. Just tremendous racing there. And Charles was just able to get close enough going down to that front straight. It just seems like he's conserved his tires a little bit better. He's had the benefit of DRS this entire time, as we actually see one of the Haas drivers move ahead of Mick Schumacher. So that's David Chizar moving ahead up into P8 ahead of Mick. In just about all race, he's been following behind Mick for pretty much the entire race. So very interesting to see that swap. Maybe they feel as though, actually we're going to get a look at it here. Oh, big lock up there from Mick. So that's actually what happened. David was just following closely behind, and Mick just locks up really bad. So we cut ahead once again. Charles Leclerc gap up to 0.6 here as they head into the front straight onto lap 24. Max Verstappen obviously with DRS behind, but I mean the Ferrari just has a tremendous straight line speed even with DRS behind him. Charles is able to maintain that gap pretty well and gets a really good run coming out of turns 2 and 3. So yeah, you definitely wonder if Max's tires are just kind of starting to fall away from him a little bit. It's gap up to 0.8 now between the front 2 runners. See the gap between Carlos Sainz and Sergio Perez getting very close as well. Only about 0.4 there between those two. Charles Leclerc, man, 0.9. You see a Haas coming into the pits. This is David Chizar running into the pits here. A little early on the medium tires. We expect them to run just a little bit longer on those. So he's going to switch onto, looks like the hard compound tires as they come out. And again, they take some time for these tires to heat up. So, you know, it'll be very interesting to see how his outlap is, and where he'll come out once everybody kind of starts to make their pits. Starts to make their stops, rather. As we see Lance Stroll move out ahead. Lance Stroll still hasn't pit yet. Starting from the back, but running a decent race, all things considered. And we've seen Esteban Ocon as well. He's currently running P9. Also hasn't pit, but also running a solid race as well. So we cut ahead, back ahead to the leaders here. Charles Leclerc has a second advantage over Max Verstappen, so he's out of the DRS range of Max. You definitely wonder if we'll see Max come into the pits soon. Because again, you almost wonder if those tires are starting to fall away. This is the other Red Bull of Sergio Perez getting very close to Carlos Sainz there. You see Checo coming out of turn 3 into the second DRS straight. Not quite enough. We're looking at Lewis Hamilton now as well, very close with his teammate, George Russell, as we've seen pretty much all race long. But once again, still not quite close enough here heading into turn 4. Another thing, too, typically the second team driver will have some sort of yellow or like neon yellow on the cars to indicate that they are the second driver on the team. However, Lewis requested this year that he have yellow, hence why his number is yellow. He's got some yellow spots, we'll say, for lack of a better term, on top of where the TV pod camera is, as well as on the flaps going over the front tires, and his helmet as well. Bit of a callback to his early days in F1, which feels like forever ago at this point. So you see him following along here. George Russell running very well, honestly. P5. Again, if you're Mercedes, though, you have to wonder, you know, is this really what you expected coming into the first weekend of the 2022 season? And obviously, reigning Constructors champions, battling so hard to fight for a driver's title last year as well. It's still just not quite there pace-wise, which is again, you know, really disappointing if you're Toto Wolff and obviously the Mercedes team and Mercedes drivers. But they do feel that as the year progresses, they can definitely get better and get back to their, you know, dominating ways. But they did say it might take some time. So we see Lewis following behind here, and it looks like Lando Norris, Pierre Gasly battling each other here in the back as well. This is going on for P13. Let's see, get a little bit of replay, and see, this is what I mean. Get on that curb, and the car just doesn't want to get off. The board there on the bottom just kind of grinds on that curbing. We'll see Pierre and Lando going at it. Lando keeps the spot, so Lando was ahead of Pierre there. So we cut back to Valtteri Bottas in for his pit stop. Valtteri Bottas as well in the Alfa Romeo, actually running very well. You see Lance Stroll closing in once again. And again, Valtteri Bottas not going to have those tires up to speed yet. So Lance should be able to get him here. He's going to have DRS heading into turn 4. And again, Lance Stroll still hasn't pit yet. Can try to go around the outside here of Valtteri. Can he get it to stick? And yes, he can. Very nicely done. Very good overtake. We've seen Lance make some very good overtakes here. Again, Lance obviously did not start in the most ideal of positions, but has been running very strong. So we cut back to the leader here. Charles Leclerc has almost a 2-second gap to Max Verstappen. And just to kind of give you some insight, now, yes, the entire grid hasn't pit yet, but you may have saw in the shot there, the Williams of Nicholas Latifi. So we're already starting to see the leaders start to lap some cars as well. Again, I think this front 6 is just going to have this incredible pace that is honestly going to separate them a little bit from the rest of the midfield, which isn't quite what you wanted to see with these new cars, of course, but we'll see what happens as time progresses, obviously. We're right on board here. Charles Leclerc, as we come back actually to Valtteri Bottas fighting back on Lance Stroll. So no more than a lap later, fights right back, gets his spot back from Lance, as we see Lance fighting back though, coming down the inside, heading down into turn 1. This is for 10th place. Late on the brakes, still side by side coming down to turn 2. Valtteri's got the inside, gets a little wobbly there. So we'll see, can he fight back here? Heading down to the second DR straight, heading into turn 4. Can he make it happen? Still fighting with Lance. Still side by side, still going. Into turn 5, turn 6, turn 7, gets the move, and is now out ahead. If you're Valtteri, you crucially need that. And you don't really want to be battling too much, because then you allow the Haas of David Shizar to catch back up and potentially make a move on you. Before he pit, obviously Valtteri was ahead, running in P7. So again, still some guys ahead of him who have yet to pit. But you definitely want to try to build a gap and try to continue to head out there. Move ahead as we're on board now. Mick Schumacher. How about the race he's had too? Again, you look at those Haas cars from last year, not a strong pairing. Consistently running in the back, and now you have Mick running in the points. Again, still hasn't pit yet, but was running P8 before the first round of pit stops began. And again, other than the lockup that we saw, obviously heading into turn 4, has been running really strong. It's made these tires work really well too, it seems like. Lap 28, still running strong. We haven't really seen his timings change much either. The son of the greats, Michael Schumacher. Shown a little bit of his dad here today. Again, running very strong in this Haas car. I wouldn't be shocked if you see these Haas guys consistently scoring in the points this year, but we'll see what happens. We jump on board here with Sergio Perez, trying to close the gap on Carlos Sainz. He's been running behind that Ferrari for quite some time. The bull has been seeing red for a little too long. Oh, it's a little loose coming out of turn 2 there. Heads in the second DRS zone. Unfortunately, lost a little bit of time. Again, we're seeing some of these guys struggle a little bit on this medium tires. So I'm sure we're going to see some of these guys start to pit very soon. Most of the guys that were on the medium tires, they are still out. I've seen very few of them pit so far. As we see, look at this, the AlphaTauri's going at it again. Pierre Gasly and Yuki Tsunoda. It's the third time we've seen them battle each other so far in this race. Albeit, unfortunately, not for points, but still some tremendous racing, which is what you love to see, especially racing between teammates. That is, unless you're the team principal. Maybe you don't really want to see it too much then. Because then, of course, there's the fear that, you might have both cars not running anymore. So we have Yuki Tsunoda with DRS heading down the main straight, ending into turn 1. This isn't going to be close enough. It looks like Pierre will stay ahead of him. Two AlphaTauris. You would think that Pierre would have a little bit stronger pace than what we've seen so far, but unfortunately not quite enough. Sergio Perez following close behind, still behind that Ferrari of Carlos Sainz. Gap now up to 7/10. We look ahead to the leaders as well. Charles Leclerc has about a 2-second advantage over Max Verstappen. So again, you almost wonder if Max was kind of starting to struggle in those tires, and you almost wonder if we're seeing Sergio also maybe doing the same. Obviously following behind Carlos all this time. Does a little bit of a toll to those front tires. It can cause him to wear down a little bit, but he's still maintaining good pace behind Carlos. So again, we haven't seen the top 6 cars, top 7 truly. We haven't seen them pit yet. So it'll be very interesting to see. We got a replay shot here. This is Sebastian Vettel following behind Nicholas Latifi. Latifi with a little bit of a lock up there in turn 4. Sebastian able to make the easy overtake. Again, not quite running where you would like, but hopefully we're able to see some improvements from him there. So here we go. Sergio Perez. 6/10 is the gap. Almost 7 now. As he hits the DRS detection zone. DRS line. Fortunately, isn't going to be able to be close enough. Again, I think this is what you're going to see most of the season. I think you're going to see Ferrari, Red Bull. This is going to be your front 4 all year long. And I think it's going to create for exciting stuff. This is honestly what you want to see for a championship. And hopefully it goes back and forth, just like what we got last year between Lewis and Max. So we're right on board here. This is Lando Norris following behind. He had DRS, however, he's over a second gap. So I almost wonder he was close to David, and yeah, just gets on the curb again. That's the second time he's done that within the past 10 laps. So loses his advantage once again. And again, we've seen a lot of cars struggle in that turn. So we're on board here with Lewis Hamilton, following behind George Russell. Stayed within a second almost this entire race. Just hasn't been able to get close enough to make a move on his teammate. And again, if you're Mercedes, if you're Lewis, if you're Toto Wolff, I mean, you have to be a little concerned over your pacing in comparison to the Ferrari and the Red Bulls. You know, after so many years of dominance in this hybrid era, you obviously expect that your car is going to be a little bit stronger than what it's been so far in this race. Yeah, just not quite there. Not quite there. As we head down the main straight, 0.6 is the gap. DRS activated here for Lewis. Can he bring it closer? Can he get it close enough to make a move? Just not quite. Not quite. We're seeing most cars gain about 0.3 with DRS on that main straight. And just not quite able to make the move. And they gain about a 1/10, maybe a 1/10.5 on that second DRS zone. So we've seen some cars be able to follow better than others. We've seen some good action so far. Again, I think we were expecting a little more just out of these cars. So maybe it's also partially the track. Obviously, you know, out here in the desert, a lot of wind, so it's tough to control some of these cars with those tailwinds. And even just braking, getting out of the corners, it's very easy for these cars to slip and have oversteer coming out of these corners, as we've seen a lot of guys already have. So there's a lot of factors here. The cars are much heavier too. It's maybe why we've seen some of these guys struggle to overtake, even though they've stayed within a second throughout most of this race. So we're right on board here. This is Charles Leclerc. Again, it's got the gap to almost 2.4 seconds, almost 2.5 seconds over Max Verstappen here, as we're starting to see him get through some of this lap traffic. And again, still have yet to pit. So they're making the most of these medium tires, and they're using them quite well. Again, who's going to pit first? Who's going to make that undercut? That's the big question. It looks like we're seeing some cars pit, I believe. I think Sergio Perez and George Russell go from the pits. We're riding on board with Max Verstappen. So we're starting to see some of those first stops happen. I almost wonder, with Checo coming in early to try to do that undercut, is here we go as we see George Russell coming out of the pits now. With Checo coming in early to make that undercut, you almost wonder, will we see Carlos Sainz or Charles Leclerc come in shortly after just to make it happen, as we see Mick Schumacher come in, Esteban Ocon come in. So again, they said the medium tires somewhere between 26 to 30 laps. A lot of these guys managed to make them go a little bit longer. Esteban Ocon, how about the drive he's having too? Started P19, should come out in P10, maybe P11, but Lance Stroll hasn't pit yet. So they'll be right there fighting for points. So actually, they'll be battling, looks like Lance and David coming out of the pits here. Mick stays ahead, has a decent gap. Lance Stroll squeezes by Ocon, as does David. Lance Stroll, though, is gonna have, obviously, hotter tires here, following behind Mick. Can't make the move. Those tires are definitely going to be worn. He's been running on them for 30 laps. As we see, Max Verstappen's in, so is Carlos Sainz. So we were correct. Very next lap, Carlos Sainz coming in, Max Verstappen coming in as well. Try to perform that undercut on Charles Leclerc. I'm amazed that they didn't bring Charles in over Carlos, because now there's that chance that Max can perform the undercut on Charles, be able to make the move, and get back ahead of Charles. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this all works out, as we see Lewis coming out of the pits as well. As I'm sure we'll see George get back ahead of him here. Although it's going to be very interesting to see, because it's actually very close. Coming into turn one here, Lewis is actually ahead of George. So George looks like he didn't have the strongest of outlaps. However, again, those hard tires take forever to heat up. So George should be able to get back around. They're actually battling each other going into turn 4. George on the outside. Gets his stick. Obviously, those tires are much hotter in comparison. So we see Fernando Alonso in the pits now as well. So again, these guys on the medium tires, they got them to last quite some time. Did a very strong job. On board with David Chuzar here. Following behind Mick Schumacher. This is for P10. Should possibly get past Fernando here into turn 1 to get back into P9. So we're seeing the Haas drivers run 8th and 9th once again. And Charles Leclerc coming out of the pits now too. All right, so this is going to be close. Max actually struggled on his outlap there from the pits. You can see the gap is pretty far between the two. So it looks like Charles should maintain the lead here as he comes out of the pits, heads down in turn 1. This is on board with Max Verstappen. We'll see how far back he is. And yeah, you can see quite the gap actually between the two. You have 5 seconds is the gap. Max did come out into a little bit of traffic, unfortunately, too, so I definitely wonder if he lost a little bit of time there. But yeah, about a 2-second difference between the two drivers here in terms of where they were before they pit. So we'll see as we're on board with Sergio Perez. 5/10 is the gap between him and Carlos Sainz. We're on board now with Charles Leclerc. We'll see how quickly can he get these tires up to speed. Again, it takes some time. It takes roughly about 2 to 3 laps for these hard tires to fully get heated up and get into the right temperatures to where you're going to get the most amount of grip out of them. We're seeing that gap between him and Max dwindle quite quickly. It's gap down now to 3.4. Again, we'll see how good of an outlap is Charles truly going to have. It looks like he's starting to level out there on the timings. It looks like Lance Stroll finally coming into the pits. So, again, what a tremendous first stint we saw from him. So he's going to fall down the grid a little bit here. But we saw quite the first stint. Made some good overtaking, good battling. We'll see what he does here on these hard tires. There's a lot of the guys ahead of him pit quite early. So he comes out now, P17, P18 now behind his teammate, Sebastian Vettel. Yeah, not quite the outing you'd like to see in the Aston Martins, of course. Looking at Esteban Ocon now. Again, started P19, running in P12, right behind Pierre Gasly. See what kind of pace he can continue to have. So we'll have DRS here behind Pierre. And I love that camera angle. As DRS behind Pierre here, can he get close enough? Just not quite. Just not quite. Also, I love the blue and pink. Blue and pink is such a tremendous color combination. I think it's a lot of fun. But anywho, heading into turn 13, on down to the back straight. Let's see what he does. Is Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc stopped on the track. Turn 10. Charles Leclerc stopped on the track. He starts going again. Oh, the horror. Falls down into P4, the race leader. Let's see what happens here. Fall behind Aston Martin here, I believe, in Lance Stroll. And, just runs wide. It's just behind a back marker. And then stops, obviously, because he has to let these cars go by. I almost wonder if he just struggles to get it back in gear there. And, yeah, it just runs wide. I mean, you can see Lance kind of take the normal racing line rather than backing out. And it cost Charles the lead there. Wow. You almost wonder if the stewards are going to have a look at that. It's now Charles Leclerc running in P4. 4.5 seconds behind P3 and Sergio Perez. You hate to see it. As we're on board now, Fernando Alonso jumped down the grid a little bit. So I almost wonder if he ran wide there. Turn 10 as well as he's fighting back at his teammate there, Esteban Ocon. Just can't get in there. Teammate closes the door on him. I almost wonder if he ran wide in turn 10 as well. Again, we've seen a lot of cars do that. As we look and see, Yuki Tsunoda. Fortunately, Yuki, I mean, this race has been a rough one for him. Looks like he's out with mechanical failure. Poor Yuki. Again, he's had a rough going so far. But he's peeled off to the part of the track where I don't think we're going to see a safety car. Because again, we see Fernando see if he can make the move, tries to get it on the outside, but not quite. Has to fall back in line in behind Esteban. But gets a decent run coming out of turn 2 and 3. Let's take a look and see what happened here. Yeah, just runs wide. Just runs a little wide. Heading into turn 10. Again, we've seen so many cars do that so far throughout this weekend, even in this race. This is Yuki Tsunoda on board with him. Oh yeah, the car just dies on him. That sounds like an engine failure. Again, you hate to see that. Any team hates to see that heading into the first race. Yeah, there's the smoke. Any team hates to see that heading into the first race of the year. Back on board. This is now Sergio Perez following behind Carlos Sainz. Oh, I mean, just if you're a Ferrari, just the shock and horror there. And I mean, you have to be furious with Aston Martin. You know, you almost kind of feel like they potentially just cost you a race win. As we see Sergio Perez, now 6/10, 5/10. Still can't quite get close enough to Carlos. Still not quite there. So even with the undercut, still wasn't able to make a move, able to get past. Struggled a little bit on his outlap. We're seeing a lot of cars do that, you know, especially with these new regulations, these new rules to where you can't have the tires in tire blankets, so they can't be, put at a certain temperature, ready to go when the tires go on the cars in these pit stops. So they are, again, cold as ice as you come out of these pits, and these hard compound tires, they take some time to heat up. We'll see, can he get ever closer? Just not quite. But we're seeing Charles Leclerc, he's kind of making his gap back up. He was down to 4.8, now it's down to 3.6, so see what kind of moves he can potentially make. See if he can fight his way back up into P1, into first place. Man, what tremendous action we've seen thus far, though. We've seen a lot of the midfield drivers have a lot of back and forth battles. We've seen some cars struggle a little bit. Some drivers struggle a little bit, I should say, with some of these cars. And with these new cars, they're a lot heavier, so it's harder to get them slowed down. It's harder to get them to turn in. Turn 10, with how acute of a left-hander that is, and I mean, turn 9, turn 10, they kind of just flow together. With these cars, it's more traditional racing, so you have to kind of brake more in a straight line and get the car slowed down before you can truly turn in. And when turns 9 and 10, it's obviously tough. See, there's Lance Stroll. Does he get out of the way this time? Yes, he does. Yes, he does. It's good to see. That's how it should be. Although some would argue otherwise. Some would argue, hey, they're still racing, let them race. It's almost kind of what happened with him and Charles, but it forced Charles to run wide, and I mean, unfortunately, I think almost cost his race. So a lot of controversy there. So can't have a Formula One race without controversy. And we're getting plenty of it. Week 1 already. Round 1. Although now the gap between Carlos and Checo, a little over a second. I almost wonder if him trying to get around Stroll actually slowed him up a little bit. Not to place more blame on Stroll for any reason. As we're on board with Charles Leclerc. Gap down now to 2.1. Down the main straight. Tries to move past Stroll. Gets right on by him, so we're good there. Comes in. Although now Stroll is actually fighting back on the inside. Why are you doing that? You're out of position. Man, it's just some questionable moves happening here. Let me see. Charles actually lost a little bit of time from that. again, I would be amazed if the stewards don't look into that. It's very questionable driving, Lance Stroll. But again, we'll see. Can Charles Leclerc, now that he's past what seems to be his nightmare at this point, can Charles Leclerc fight his way back up? He's closing at a fairly quick rate on Checo. I don't know if he'll have the pace to get back up to Max. Hasn't really proven that. He's going to have to put in some tremendous times to make that happen. As speaking of the devil, Max Verstappen here out in the lead. He's got a 4.4 second lead over Carlos Sainz. Gets around the other Aston Martin fairly easy. No problems there. You know, we've seen Max, honestly, he's put on a very good race. He's been driving very well. Unfortunately, it seemed like the tires were kind of just starting to fall away from him, you know, in comparison to Charles Leclerc during that first stint. We're back on board here. Lewis Hamilton has got 4/10 is the gap. That's what we've been saying throughout the race. Can he get close enough to make a move on his teammate, George Russell? Still not quite. Still not quite. Can he get the run coming out of turn 2 and out of turn 3 as well? Not quite. Looks like George got the better run there. He's going to have DRS. Can he get close again? Heads into turn 4. Still not quite close enough. Again, how about the race George Russell's had? Young, crafty driver, obviously. You know, very talented driver, as we know. But to stay ahead of her teammate, who's a 7-time world champion, beyond impressive. Beyond impressive. So now we're on board Charles Leclerc here. Got the gap down to 1.6, 1.7. Closer and closer to Sergio. As Sergio, he's out of the DRS range of Carlos Sainz now. And I feel like that's almost hindered him a little bit. Because now we're seeing that straight line speed of the Ferrari. As he's getting closer and closer, but unfortunately it seems like it's a little too slow. So, I mean, he's going to have to make quick work of Checo and really, really get going if he's going to get back up to Max. Gap down now just below 1.5 as we head down into turn 4. And I mean, he is closing. It's just at a very slow rate. So just again, not quite the pace. Still got plenty of time. A lot can happen here in these closing stages. So obviously, we still got about 15 laps to go. Seen a lot of drivers make a lot of mistakes. We've seen some retirements as well, obviously. So, you know, the chance of a safety car seems pretty high at this point. Is the gap down to 1.3 now? So heading into turn 11, up through turn 12. Almost flat out through there. Late on the brakes into turn 13. Turn in a little wide. Get back onto the throttle, down the straight again. Gap down to 1.1, 1.2. He's getting closer and closer. Just inching his way there. So overall, making up about 4/10 per lap on Checo. Just doesn't seem to be quite enough, though. Doesn't help. Checo had DRS there. As Aston Martin fighting back on the inside again. This time, Sebastian Vettel. God, there's just some very questionable decisions happening. Charles Leclerc, he gets on by very, very easily. So I almost wonder if Checo maybe had an issue or a slip-up heading into turn 1 that allowed Seb to come back into the inside like that and try to fight back. So he did eventually pull out, but now Charles, 7/10 is the gap only. So now Charles is within DRS range because of that. I got some very questionable decision-making happening from our back markers, more specifically to Aston Martin drivers. It's almost like one of them has it out for Ferrari and the other one has it out for Red Bull. You could definitely tell who their favorites are for this year. It's the gap down now to 5/10, half a second. See how good of a run you can get coming down this back straight. A little bit of a slipstream. So we head down turns 13. Or I'm sorry, turns 14 and 15. A little kink that is turn 15. DRS now, heading down the main straight. Using the slipstream. Closing. But still not close enough. Heading into turn 1. Now up through turn 2. And through turn 3, the right-hander. Gap back up to about 6/10 now. Checo got a very good run out of there, out of that chicane. So still can't quite get close enough. But we saw him really close the gap through Sector 2 and Sector 3 as well. So it seems to be where his advantage is. Charles, this is. But we'll see, can he get close enough to be able to make a move down that main straight? So here we go, DRS once again out of turn 10 into turn 11. Typically, we don't see a lot of overtaking happen here because it's tough to get a really good run coming out of turn 10, especially with this year's car and how easy it is to get the rear end to slip up a little bit. Here we go. Gap down to 4/10. 4/10 onto the back straight. Heading into the final 2 corners. Gap now down below 4/10. Almost down to 3/10 now. Let's see. Charles gets a really good run. He's going to have DRS here. Should be close enough to be able to make a move down this main straight. Has DRS using the overtake. You can see it on the wheel. Makes a move on the outside. Can he get it down into turn 1? Fighting around the outside. Almost gets it to stick. Sort of. Maybe. Turn 2. Nope. Checks out a little bit. But should have DRS here. It's close enough to make the move. Can he get it to happen? Checo fighting on the inside here. Defending hard. As they come down to turn 4. On the outside. Can he get it around? Oh, they're still fighting side by side. Through turn 5, 6, and 7. Oh, still ever so close. Heading into turn 8. Checo stays ahead. Tremendous stuff. Great defense there from Sergio Perez. As right now, obviously, fighting for that last podium spot. These would be key points during the early goings of the season. So obviously, once again, Charles Leclerc with DRS heading down the straight. He's going to get fairly close as they head out of turn 11, 12, and 13. And ultimately into that back straight. So we'll see what happens. Again, running fairly strong here. You almost wonder, you know, is this going to be where the move happens? Because as they hit that main straight again. Got gap to 4/10 of a second as they head into turns 14 and 15. And Checo got a decent run. However, once again, Charles Leclerc with DRS closing that gap ever so much. Checo this time doesn't defend the inside, so Charles comes down the inside into turn 1, gets the car slowed down just enough. Fights so close with one another. Coming down to turn 2, Charles has the better line, gets ahead into P3, has DRS still as well. Heads into turn 4 and stays ahead. Great stuff. Great pass. And that's honestly what you love to see. And again, once again, unfortunately, I just don't think he's going to have enough pace to catch Max. And if you're Max Verstappen, if you're Christian Horner and you're Red Bull, I mean, you thank Checo for how hard he defended there. I mean, he held him up for an extra lap, and that extra lap, I think, was key. Because unfortunately, I just don't think Charles has enough pace and enough time to catch Max ultimately. But again, tremendous defending, tremendous overtaking even. That's what we want to see. That's what we want to see out of these cars. That's what they're meant to do. So again, hopefully we see that as we see Esteban Ocon making an overtake on David Chizar here. Again, Ocon starting P19, took an engine penalty. Now has himself 2 points so far. And is running fairly quick too. There's actually a strong chance he might catch Mick up ahead. So David Chizar, I mean, still running in the points, running for that final point there for the Haas team. So again, I mean, still a really good drive from him. And even Mick Schumacher as well, P8. You know, again, if you're Haas, if you get both cars to finish in points, I mean, you can't help but be ecstatic over that. So we're looking behind from Esteban Ocon's car. Again, already built up about a second gap over David Chizar. So again, I mean, he's had a very quick car, as we can tell. And as we can see, again, running fairly well. It was Mick Schumacher. Mick Schumacher. He is off. Oh, the commentator curse. Car goes up in smoke. Engine failure. Oh, with about 10 laps to go. This is it. This is us riding on board with him. And it just goes. You can hear it. Can't help but be heartbroken. He's ran such an incredible race. And just ran very well all weekend. Very unfortunate. I mean, you truly do hate to see it. Just devastating. Devastating. You can't help but be just heartbroken for him. But here we go. Sergio Perez has actually closed the gap back to Charles Leclerc a little bit. However, we're back up to 7/10. But he will have DRS, so he should be able to close that gap down just a little bit more. See if he could actually pressure Charles a little bit here. Try to make a move happen. They head through the second DRS zone. And gap's still 7/10, so again, not quite close enough. So I almost wonder if Charles struggled a little bit trying to get past that back marker that we see there, the AlphaTauri, or sorry, the Alfa Romeo rather. So you almost wonder if he struggled a little bit to get past him, and that's why we're able to see Checo kind of close that gap just a little bit. Again, with the kind of race that we've seen, and some of the action we've seen in some of these back markers, you wouldn't be too surprised. Even as we look at it, I mean, Max Verstappen about a 5-second lead over Carlos Sainz. I mean, for Charles to try to make up 7 seconds, it unfortunately just doesn't quite seem like he has the pace to do that. So ultimately, we might be looking at a P3 finish for him. And you almost wonder, if he closes on Carlos Sainz, do the teams swap positions? Do Ferrari issue team orders and have Carlos and Charles swap positions? Charles was obviously out in front. You could argue that he wasn't the one that made the mistake that caused him to go down to P4. However, Carlos has ran a very consistent race, so it's very interesting to see what happens here. It's the gap now up just over a second, so now Sergio will be out of DRS range. We ride on board with Lewis Hamilton again, just stuck behind George Russell this entire race. And if you're Lewis, I mean, you wonder how many times he sat here and has wanted to get back past his teammate. And has made the call to the team saying that he's quicker, he's faster. And ultimately the team just says, nope, we have data that proves otherwise. Because again, George Russell, I mean, he's ran a very consistent race thus far. As has Lewis. George has just been a little faster. Gap down now to 5/10. Head on to the middle of the track, out of turn 10, the last DRS zone. See how close he can get as they head into turn 11. Still not quite close enough. He can maintain this gap that they currently have. There's a good chance you might see him make a move on that front straight. Again, still not quite close enough to make it happen. As they head down into turns 14 and 15. 4/10, we've said it, all race. As DRS, can he get close enough to make a move? I don't think he'll quite be able to do it, but we'll see. He's gaining at a good pace. But still not quite close enough to allow George, or to make a move on George, I should say. George actually gets a really good run out of turns 2 and 3. So I don't think we'll see him move. We're looking at, it's like Esteban Ocon, I believe. Oh, he's a little wide there. I'm sorry, actually, that's Fernando Alonso. Runs wide. It's the second time we've seen him do that. So he's struggling there in turn 10 as well. So he actually falls down the grid a little bit because of that. Back on board with Charles Leclerc. He's got the gap to Carlos, his teammate, under 2 seconds. So we'll see. Will he be able to close and make a move on his teammate? And once again, the question is, will we see the Ferrari pit wall make the call to have the driver swap spots? I think Charles has obviously been a little bit faster all weekend in comparison. However, Carlos has ran an almost perfect race. Just isn't fast enough to make the gap a little closer to Max Verstappen. The gap now down to 1.4 to his teammate ahead. As we look at his teammate ahead, Carlos Sainz. You see just ahead, we see the Red Bull and Max Verstappen. There's Fernando Alonso, the Alpine. What a camera angle that is. Gap now down to 1.2. So we're seeing Charles close at a very rapid pace on his teammate. Gap now down to 1.1 actually. So I almost think if Charles can keep closing at this rate, he'll have DRS heading onto the front straight, to the first DRS zone. As we see, he's just now under a second, so he'll actually be able to close. Should be able to close at an even quicker rate heading into the front straight. Can he keep it? Oh, I don't know. That was close. That was close. At the DRS section zone, might have been just over a second. We'll see. Again, we're looking at Carlos Sainz still on board. I don't think Charles had DRS. He didn't really make up any time there, so I don't think he had DRS. I think he just missed it. He was just over a second when he hit the DRS section zone. So now we're right on board. Now he has DRS. Through the second DRS straight. Heads into turn 4. Oh, Fernando's holding him up a little bit. I think Fernando took that corner wrong. Didn't really know what to do because he had Carlos there. Oh, once again we see a back marker. Hold up one of our drivers. One of our race leaders. I mean, just it's amazing how often we've seen that in this race. Now the gap is back up to 1.4. I mean, you almost wonder, like, does that just ruin Charles's chances at even potentially a P2 at this point? See, gap now down to 1.3, almost down to 1.2 as they head back onto the main straight. But again, I mean, at that point, you feel like he almost lost in terms of pacing, like almost like a whole lap and a half from being held up. Which you truly do hate to see as we head down into the last few laps of this race. Gap down to 1.2. So heading into the second DRS zone again, just outside of DRS range. You do have to be within a second when you hit the DRS detection zone. So I think we'll see Charles be able to close the gap on his teammate. But unfortunately, just not going to have enough time to try to close the gap on Max. Gap now down to 1.1. Still outside of the DRS range. With Brady's closing, he might be able to get it. So head onto that main straight once again. I mean, you can't help but feel for Charles Leclerc. I mean, he's just ran such a great race. All race long. Just unfortunately, it's just been, you know, in the later stages here, it's just been caught up by back markers. Just so frequent and just way too frequent. Way more than it should happen. And you really do hate to see it. He's just outside of the DRS range too, so he's going to come down this main straight. Even though he's within the second, when he hit the DRS detection zone, he was over a second. But he's closing at a very rapid rate, though, even without DRS. He's head down into turn one, so he'll have DRS. Coming into second zone here, coming out of turn three. As you can see the rear wing open up. Heads into turn four. Didn't make up a ton of time there, though. Down into turn 8. Yep, now 6/10, just over 6/10, so should be able to close a little bit. You can see he's driving very comfortably, so you almost wonder if Carlos is starting to struggle with the tires a little bit. As DRS heading into turn 11, gets the gap down to about 5/10. We'll see how well is he able to follow him through here. There's 12 and 13. Onto the back straight. See back markers ahead. If you're Charles, you almost fear them at this point. Heading into turns 14 and 15. Again, gap about 5/10 between two Ferrari drivers. So have DRS. As you see, the green light comes up on the dash there. Gains on Charles at a very rapid rate, actually, with the DRS. You almost wonder if he's using a little bit of overtake at the end there. Comes out of turns 2 and 3. Gap goes up a little bit. Has DRS once again. So it looks like they're letting the drivers race. It looks like they're just letting them go. Letting them do their thing. So now the gap's back up to 5/10. Heading to turn 8. And this is the battle for P2. This could be key points for the Drivers' Championship if you're Charles Leclerc. Ultimately, you didn't think you'd want to have to battle your teammate for it. You've seen a lot of tremendous teammate battles throughout the years, so this is definitely nothing new to the sport of F1. Really hope that these back markers ahead of Lando Norris and Pierre Gasly, you really hope that they just don't get in the way here as the gap's now down to 4/10. So we'll see what kind of run he can get coming out of turns 14 and 15. Gap down to 3.5, but it goes back up just over 4/10. We'll see. He had a tremendous run last go around. Although now Carlos has the DRS. A little cheeky. He's got DRS from the back marker. You see Charles hesitate a little bit there. He actually locks up going into turn 1. See him hesitate a little bit there because you don't know what the back markers are going to do. And gets a little bit of oversteer coming out of turn 1. And turn 2, I should say. So the gap goes up to 7/10 now because of that. And you can't blame him for the hesitation. with his experience that he's had with these back markers so far in this race. As we see the AlphaTauri. Does he? Oh, he's just... Oh, man. Slows him up just a little bit as well. Just unfortunate timing, really, there. That one you can't blame Pierre for or anything like that. It's just unfortunate timing as to when Charles caught him. Because obviously the race between Pierre and Lando, I mean, that's for the final points of the race as well. So obviously Pierre doesn't want to just let him go by and then give Lando the chance to go by as well. So gap goes up to 9/10, almost a full second. We're going to be coming on to the final lap here shortly. And it looks like the top three, that's most likely going to be the finishing order there for our podium places, which hopefully I didn't just create the commentator's curse once again. But here we go, final lap. It's begun. Charles Leclerc with DRS closing in on him. Just not quite close enough as they head into turn one. Let's see, can he get a good run coming out of turns 2 and 3? Not quite. Looks like Carlos gets the better run. It's a really good run, actually. So now they head into turn 4. You can't help but feel for Charles. He ran a great race. He ran a very clean race. Managed to get out in front ahead of Max Verstappen. Built a gap. But unfortunately, runs into some back markers that chose to fight him and not get out of the way. Which, again, I mean, a lot of people were torn on that. Some people feel as though they should be allowed to race. It's racing, even if you're not racing for position. And we've seen others, you know, feel as though, hey, if they're not racing for that position, they should move out of the way so you don't ruin the racing for others. But here we are, Max Verstappen, who's ran a clean race this entire race. Had some luck go his way a little bit there at the end, it's definitely fair to say. Coming out of turns 14 and 15, Max Verstappen is going to win the Bahrain Grand Prix. Is going to win round 1 here of the 2022 season. Carlos Sainz is going to come home P2 with Charles Leclerc coming home P3. Sergio Perez comes home in P4. Love to see it. Both Russell scores points in his first drive with Mercedes. David Chizar as well, the rookie. Haas gets their first points in years. As we see the Red Bull team celebrating their win today. Again, tremendous drive from Max Verstappen. Very well done. Again, some very questionable things that happened with some back markers, which I think ruined Ferrari's weekend, as they were on pace definitely for a win here today. But obviously, if you're Max Verstappen, you can't help but be happy, be excited to make the most of every possible point you can get. As we see Max walking through the tunnel, not driving, coming out onto the podium. I think this is a sight you'll see quite often, as we progress, as we move forward. The Red Bull team celebrating today. Get the champagne going. As we take a look at the results today. Again, Max Verstappen scores 26 points, as he also had the fastest lap of the race. And again, we saw the front six kind of dominate this race a little bit. And as we take a look, and Esteban Ocon finishing P8. Definitely my pick for driver of the day. Again, started P19, finishing there. Take a look at the constructor standings as well, as Red Bull now has a 5-point advantage over Ferrari after winning today's race. What tremendous stuff. So I didn't time the end of that, right? Maybe I make that go a little longer next time. All right. What button's what? I don't remember anymore. That one. Okay. All right, I didn't time that right. That's okay. That's okay. That was fun. That was fun, man. My throat hurts though. Holy shit, dude. Like my throat is actually killing me. And hey, Renan, man, I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate you being active in the chat. I unfortunately, why is my bit rate so low? Yeah, what the fuck's going on with YouTube, bro? Anyway, I unfortunately, I no, right? Yeah, I can't. Yeah, why is it so low? Wait, no, it's not. Hang on. Give me 1 second. Yeah, why is my audio bitrate so low? Weird. I think there's something going on with YouTube, like just the streaming side of things, because like I keep getting these things that pop up and they're telling me crazy stuff, but hopefully that sounded good. I'm gonna be a little upset if I just did all that and it sounded like shit. I'm gonna be really upset actually. That was tough. That was tough to do, man, because like one, my throat is like very dry right now. And it kinda hurts. So like to sit there and try to take a drink like while stuff is happening. You know what I mean? And again, just like that whole like just trying to continuously keep talking and like that's tough. It is so tough to do. That was fun though. I actually really enjoyed that. And again, once I found a rhythm, which I feel like I actually found that rhythm pretty early. Yeah, once I found a rhythm, it felt good. Felt good. I don't know if you guys like, if any of you have been watching, or like have been playing rather, the new F1 game. Have any of you like had that issue with Bahrain, where like the AI runs wide at turn 10? Like I have it happen a lot. The other issue too is like I know they've addressed it, as in like they've talked about it. It's like the AI backing out of overtakes too easily, especially on other AI. Like the AI on AI racing hasn't been the greatest thus far. So I don't know if you guys are also having that issue. I mean, I personally am, and it sucks. I hate it, but that was fun, man. That was fun. My throat is killing me after all that. For obvious reasons. But that was fun though. That was fun. I enjoyed that. That was cool. I want to make a habit of that, obviously. You know what I mean? Like going forward, I want to, I want to consistently do that. I have to do. I got to do round 2, which is Jeddah. I did practice and qualifying last night. I'd like to be able to bring in qualifying for like the recording, but you kind of can't because like there's no replay to save for that, unfortunately. So it would just be one perspective the entire time, which maybe I could do and just not commentate. That way you at least get that experience. The sprint race, for the sprint race weekends, like I'll be able to do the sprint race, which I'll do. You know what I mean? Like I'll go back, record that. We'll be able to do, some commentary on that. And then obviously for the race itself, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Oh, God, my nose is also like kind of stuffy, and like I'm trying not to. Why do I have no service? The other thing too that concerned me, like literally the middle of the stream, my phone, I was looking at it, and I got a warning on my phone saying that my Wi-Fi, like, just wasn't, like, my phone wasn't picking up the Wi-Fi. And I was like, tell me my internet is about to go out right now. Like, mid-race, mid-stream, internet goes. I'm like, there's no way that that's about to happen, right? But then ultimately it fixed itself. But so I don't know what I got going on, to be honest with you. Like, I don't know if, like, because again, I'm getting all these like alerts and shit on YouTube. So like, I don't know if something's going on there. I don't know what's happening. But and again, so hopefully streaming wise, because I mean, I got like a notification like almost at the very beginning that like, hey, Strong, like you don't have a good connection, whatever. So like people may experience buffering. I'm like, oh, well, that's stupid. So hopefully you guys didn't have any issues, and hopefully that went very smoothly for anybody that tuned in and watched. So I'd actually be quite upset if that wasn't the case. But that was fun though. That was fun. Again, I want to try to do that every week. You know what I mean? Like every week we do that and have a new race and stuff like that. Again, that's the goal. We'll see. Obviously I still want to do my team. That's still going to be I think for most of our live streams, that's obviously going to be the majority of what our content is. And then every once in a while, we'll do we'll do this. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you liked it. If you did, obviously share it with a friend and leave a like on the video, all that fun stuff. And again, just kind of let me know what you think. Again, I enjoyed it a lot. I think it was kind of fun. I'm going to continue to do it, obviously, regardless of whether or not people watch it. We're gonna stick with it, man. This is gonna be the series on the YouTube channel. This is what we do. So again, I enjoyed it. I hope you did as well. And it was fun. It was fun. But plans for the rest of the week. No stream tomorrow. A lot of stuff that I got going on tomorrow. So no stream tomorrow. And then I should actually look at my schedule, because I actually don't know what my work schedule is right now. It's actually gonna look. Let's see. We'll probably stream Friday night and Saturday morning as well. So we'll try to get some streams going for this week. I know I only streamed once last week, so but like I said, I know I only streamed once last week, and I got a lot going on, man. Personal life wise and even work life, and so life hasn't been too kind. If you guys follow me on Twitter, like, you probably may or may not have saw on there. I posted a tweet yesterday. Like, I had my VR headset broke, it just stopped working. So now I got to get a new VR headset, which I don't really have the money for. So now when I play F1, now I'm playing like the traditional desktop mode, like I, played all these years, and I'm definitely much faster on desktop mode in comparison to the VR. My thing with the VR is just like and I've even said this before, it's super like the bounciness, like, you know what I mean, like those bumps, like the shake that you get. It's tough to get a feel for it all, you know what I mean, like as everything progresses. So the Friday stream, the Friday night stream, that again, that'll just be my team mode, but when we do that stream, it's gonna be desktop view, so I'll actually be able to look at chat and actually be able to respond to chat. But sucks though, because like I enjoy VR, man. I do. I mean, I guess going forward, like in the future, when I do finally get like a new VR headset, I guess I could always just do the VR for the driver career and then do desktop for my team. I think desktop view is a better experience for you guys anyways, and obviously you guys don't see the VR for the driver career because again, we're doing that in a completely different way. But my main idea behind this, like, I wanted to do something different than what's normally done in the content creation world. Like, most of what you see from a content standpoint, it's all the same, you know what I mean? Everybody's doing my team, which I don't blame them. I mean, my team's the better mode. But on top of that, like, what everybody's doing, it's all the same, you know what I mean? It's just progressing through a my team career. We don't really see anybody do anything super different. Obviously, some people try to bring like a TV aspect to it with like various replays and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I think Arava does a great job with that. For example, I watch him regularly. One of my favorite creators, honestly, just in general. Again, my idea was I wanted to do something a little different. I also wanted to incorporate like the driver career. You know what I mean? I enjoy driver career still because I like the idea of just, hey, these are the teams on the grid. This is what it's like. And I like the idea of almost like that road to glory. You know what I mean? Like, just like, let's start from a team that's not as good. Hopefully perform well enough to justify, because obviously you can just pick whatever team you want, but add some role play element to it, to where it's a little bit of realism, to where you can sit there and say like, okay, listen, I finished this in the driver standings, I had this many points and these good performances here throughout the year. So again, to be able to justify jumping up a seat or whatever. So again, that's the goal. Again, I do work a full-time job, so unfortunately me putting out content, it's going to be slow, especially because I prefer to do full races. I don't like doing a shorter race. After so long, yeah, you get a little burnt out during that race, especially like Bahrain, for example. Like, I like Bahrain, but I don't find it, oh god, that's a good stretch. I don't find it to be a super fun track to drive. Really don't. Like, I do like it, but after so long, you kind of get bored with it. Because it just doesn't have that flow that like some others do. But anyway, we're gonna call it there. It's a little 2-hour banger. You know what I mean? I think it's a fun little stream. But that's all these streams are going to be. When we do this, it's literally just going to be small, short streams. Nothing crazy. Like most of my streams, really. I mean, most of my streams in general are pretty short. You know what I mean? I just, unfortunately, again, I work a full-time job. So it's tough for me to sit here and stream all day. And trust me, I would love to. You know what I mean? I would love to just sit here and just do this all day long. Clearly, I'm literally just rambling at this point, talking to no one, and I'm having fun. So, but anyway, I'm gonna call it there. Again, we'll be back Friday. Friday night, probably around like 8-ish, 8-9 o'clock. To do round 2 of the Mind Team, which is at Jeddah, which is I like Jeddah. Jeddah's a fun track. Jeddah's a fun track, man. It just has a really good flow and rhythm to it all because it's just so quick. I do like it. I think it's super dangerous in real life, but in the game, you know, it's again, I think it's actually kind of fun. So again, Friday night, and then Saturday morning as well. Saturday morning we'll probably do more My Team, honestly, because I mean I'm not gonna have. Tonight I'll probably try to record or at least complete the race, but like I'm probably not gonna have it all recorded or anything. So, because that takes so much time, dude. Like between the race itself and then, you know, and then obviously going back and recording the replay, all that just takes up so much time, man. Like time I don't really have. So, but we'll figure it out. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So, okay, maybe tomorrow I do that. Try to do what I can there. I think tonight I'll try to do the race and then record the replay tomorrow. But we'll see. See, because obviously I want to edit this down too and do like a race highlights thing. But anyway, that's gonna go. It's gonna call it. Do it. It's gonna do it. Again, I appreciate everybody tuning in. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being here. Much love as always. Again, we'll be back Friday night. But until then, stay safe out there. Be kind to one another. Love one another. Adios. Peace out. Enjoy your night. Enjoy your evening. Enjoy your Thursday as well. I'll see you guys Friday. Take care of yourselves. Much love.